Good morning, YouTube. I wanted to go over something that I've been seeing on the internet a lot lately, and I'm surprising how many supposedly learned gun writers and scholars, and I'm really shocked at some of the people I see that are advocating this, and that's birdshot for home defense with a shotgun. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out where they would get that from. And one of the things I saw, and I was very surprised to see a writer for a major gun magazine with a video on YouTube, I'm not going to name names, point out that if you have relatives or family in your home, that birdshot is not likely to penetrate through walls or drywall. And at the same time, I have to ask the question, if it doesn't penetrate even drywall, what good is it? The whole basis for a defensive round is you want penetration to the vital organs. If it cannot penetrate drywall, which is not very thick, what good is it? Now, at the same time, will birdshot penetrate drywall? Yes. I've seen it done. I've actually seen drywall. I've seen baseboard. I've seen 2x4s shot with birdshot at various distances, 5 yards, 10 yards, whatever, and it goes right through with little effort. So what I decided to do is I'm going to use this. Now, I don't even have birdshot for my 12 gauge because that's not what the gun's for. This is actually 16 gauge number 8 shot, and I'm going to go out with this and shoot this older piece of drywall here, or gypsum board, whichever you want to call it. I'm not sure which this is because I found this as a scrap, and I'm not a carpenter, but this is what your walls are made out of, folks. I believe that's more gypsum board than anything else. But I am going to shoot it to show you that, because a lot of your older houses have gypsum board and drywalls, etc., to show you that birdshot will penetrate that. And it penetrates it quite well. And it's mind-boggling to me to hear people and see people say, well, use birdshot for your shotgun and it won't penetrate your wall and hit somebody. Well, my thinking is, if you even suspect one of your family members is behind a wall, should you be shooting at it? To me, that goes back to the old adage of firearm safety, and it applies to personal defense as well. Knowing your target and what is beyond it. And it goes the same for personal defense in your home. Doesn't matter where that is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up that piece of drywall, gypsum board, whatever it happens to be. It's still home materials. And I'm going to take a shot at that, and I'm going to use 7 yards as a guideline, and that's where I'm going to shoot it from. And once that test is done, we'll see exactly how it performs, and it's going to perform pretty much like I figured it would. And we'll get the results from there. So we'll catch back to you as soon as that's done, and we'll go from there, YouTube. Well, there you have it, YouTubers. You saw the video, and here's what's left of that piece of wallboard here. If I can get it in focus a little better. And there it is, and you can see all the shot pattern here. We bring it in. There's where the wad ended up, and that's pretty much what broke it in half, is when the wad hit it. But it doesn't look. It spread out pretty good. Everybody said, "Well, you know, at short range, they don't spread very much." That was 7 yards from an improved cylinder barrel, and it was a 26-inch barrel. That's my 16 gauge. Remember, this is not even a 12 gauge. This is a 16 gauge and number 8 birdshot, because you hear how everybody says, well, you know, they don't spread out much at distance. That spread out fairly well. Now, there's the backside. So you tell me that birdshot will not penetrate drywall or gypsum board or wall board, and I will tell you that it penetrates it quite easily. nothing slowed down very much here. This is exactly how I've seen pictures of drywall and gypsum board and wall board and fiberboard and anything you can think of that's built in home construction. Now keep in mind, some of your houses, like a mobile home, their walls aren't even that thick. So think about that before you go out and say, or you hear these videos that birdshot is what you want to use for home defense because it won't penetrate. Bull. BS, and what a load of it. You know what? If you're going to go out and buy a shotgun for personal defense in your home, you need to know what it does. You need to know that what it will penetrate and what it won't penetrate and what it will go through and won't go through. And in the end, your best bet, stick with those. Double-aught buckshot. It's time-tested. It's been around since the early days of the 20th century. There is a reason the military and law enforcement use it. Do you think if military and law enforcement, especially law enforcement, if they wanted a round that didn't over-penetrate and had less chance of collateral damage, you don't think they'd be using it? Of course they would. But they all know, and it's been tested and time-proven over and over and over again. Birdshot is not a good personal defense load. People out there, well, it'll penetrate on person. Okay, it might. And it might not. But the myth here, and this is the one thing I wanted to cover today, was the stupidity of what people are saying. And again, some of these are writers for magazines that have readers reading these articles and watching these videos saying that birdshot will not penetrate drywall. I think you've seen the results to say that it will. Do not use birdshot in your home if you have the mistaken assumption that it will not penetrate drywall or will penetrate a wall. And more importantly, it's your job to know what's behind the target. If it's one of the basic rules of firearms, know your target and what is beyond. Don't even assume. If you have your kids behind a wall, why in the world would you shoot there? Even if you think the round isn't going to penetrate, why take the chance? That is stupidity for people to be advocating it. So go out and properly test the firearm you're going to have for home defense. And know that birdshot will penetrate walls. It will go through. That again is not even a 12 gauge load. That's a light target or light game load for a 16 gauge. If it'll do it for a 16 gauge with less pellets than a 12, and you see what it does, it will penetrate a wall. Don't bet your family's life and your future and everything you have on assuming that birdshot won't penetrate a wall. It will. So make sure you test the rounds you're using in your gun before you go out and assume what it will and will not do. Because your life, and maybe even your freedom, if something happens, depends on it. Have a good day, YouTube.